Hello and welcome to episode 45 of the Statesmanship Project. In this particular episode, I want to discuss the updates to my training program, possible updates to this channel. Well, there's one definite update. I'm getting a new microphone. Hopefully it will improve the sound quality of this particular exchange. I noticed that this microphone tends to catch my breathing a lot more than I would like it to, and it tends to catch a lot more ambient sound than it ought to. And so for those reasons, I have to try something new. Another thing I want to discuss is the updating of my training program. I'm reading a book called The Keys to Progress by John McCallum, and after reading portions of that, he wrote for a magazine back in the 60s or 70s and 80s, I believe, and he wrote articles, and it's a collection of all the articles that he wrote, and it was like Strength and Health or something like that was the magazine he wrote for, which was actually a good publication about health and wellness and strength training. And what he wrote for was particularly gaining mass, muscle mass, and strength. And so after reading these articles, you can't help but want to try a program that focuses on bulking. And then after reading Dan John's Mass Made Simple and noticing that a lot of the principles align, I decided that I wanted to try my own bulking program. Now I'm easing into the bulking program because I haven't done anything like this in a while. But I took pictures this morning and I weighed 191 pounds, so we will see in 6 weeks, that's how long the program is going to be, where I end up. See if I gain some good mass or not. See if I make it to 195 or 200. We shall see. The next thing I want to discuss is putting economics in its proper place. Right now, economics is viewed as a science, something akin to physics, and human beings aren't rational actors. They're just balls bouncing into each other that can be controlled by different variables, like the velocity of money and the availability of money and credit and things of this nature. And there is some truth to that, but you have to have people conditioned to act in response to stimuli instead of acting in response to the good. And so, because our understanding of who we are and what we are has been subverted, I think in a lot of ways to serve the economic powers, we end up developing a quote-unquote science of studying human action that views us as cogs in a wheel, just simple variables that can be manipulated in various ways to determine different outcomes, or to establish different outcomes. In reality, economics should be a subset of philosophy. And as such, we start with metaphysics. We must understand who we are and what we are and from where we come. We are beings created in the image and likeness of our Creator. We are rational beings. We have the capacity to choose the good, the beautiful, and the true. And thus we want to organize a system, a society that facilitates that and facilitates our ability to choose the good, the beautiful, and the true, to perpetuate the good, the beautiful, and the true. And if we look at economics that way, we instead develop a perception in which we want to use the civilization that we have, use the society in a way that allows us to direct our collective actions and our individual actions towards the good, the beautiful, and the true. And in doing so, we facilitate the ability to continuously choose the good, the beautiful, and the true in service of our fellow man, in service of the common good. And by common, I mean that which serves all people, all members of society. And if you choose the good, the beautiful, and the true, you are serving all members of society, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. Because our actions must be directed towards our final end, which is to get into heaven, which is where we achieve ultimate happiness. Happiness on earth is fleeting, but the closer our actions get towards the good, the beautiful, and the true, the longer that happiness will last, and the more meaningful it will be. Pursuing things like lust or greed give us immediate gratification, but it does not give us long-term gratification. Pursuing happiness within a marriage, within a family, this gives us long-term happiness, even if we are disappointed at times. That's the closest we can get to heaven. on earth. And then when we get to heaven, we have that fulfillment, that greater fulfillment, without having the disappointments that come with the failings of humans. Because we are flawed. We are created good, but our nature is broken. And that's one thing that we must understand. And we must construct a society and study economics in such a way that we can facilitate the good, the beautiful, and the true, while also recognizing the flaws in our nature and trying to counteract them. So instead of looking at gambling or pornography or strip joints as ways to make tax revenue, we can institute a system that doesn't require the collection of taxes, and therefore the promotion of illicit activities in order to make tax revenue is no longer necessary. And so we can safeguard our societies from these degenerate activities. When you don't have to worry about if you're going to have enough money to buy food, you don't have to take a job that sucks. And so this is where a system of social credit, and certainly a system of complete abolition of usury, would help the lowest class within the economic system avoid the drudgery and debasement that comes from menial labor and jobs that are dehumanizing, especially for women when it comes to sex work and things of this nature, because these do not reflect the true value of their character. And in recognizing this and facilitating an environment where people do not have to beg and plead or debase themselves in order to make enough money to feed themselves or their children, we have a society and an economy that will work for everyone. Might not work optimally, but it will prevent them at least from going into the dredges of the soul and debasing themselves. And once we've achieved that, we can then work towards finding the next thing that we need to protect ourselves against and save our citizens from. Of course, this starts with saving ourselves from these elements of debasement, and we must understand what it is that we're doing and why. We might be debasing ourselves in certain ways, whether it's through the pursuit of greed or lust or envy, gluttony, whatever they are. And a lot of times these have to do with stress responses, because this, let's say it's overeating, connecting with food in that way gives you a moment of satisfaction that otherwise you don't have in this life, because your life is consumed with meaningless soul-sucking tasks that just destroy your desire to live. And so if we can prevent you having to do those things through want of money, then you can concentrate on what it is that you're eating and make sure that you are pursuing the good, the beautiful, and the true, even through the foods that you choose to consume. And this will promote your overall well-being and make you a better, more successful member of society, and as such, it will elevate the society as a whole. And when we look at economics through this way, and when we understand that usury and taxation is there to consume our producer surplus, our consumer surplus, the extra value that we get from working with each other and cooperating, usury and taxation consumes that. It takes the benefit that we create for ourselves by living in society and takes it from us and uses it for whoever's in charge of the society through taxation. They consume it, and they prevent us from being able to enjoy the fruits of our own productivity and cooperation. And when we recognize this, then we can develop a system by which our own surpluses, whether through producer or consumer surpluses, add value to our society as a whole. And then we are able to care for all of the members of our society in such a way that they are recognized for the human beings that they are. And we get to act as the human beings that we ought to be. And together, we can have a society that's worth living in, and not one that's consumed by meaningless consumption and mind-numbing activity. Hope this has been helpful. And until next time, have a good day.